All right, we got a new video. Obviously, the Warriors just got eliminated by the Sacramento Kings in the playoffs. The Warriors dynasty is over. I want to see what Kenny thinks about it.
What's the word, y'all? I miss this time of the year. A complete one-take post-game reaction to something we just seen. And, well, the Golden State Warriors season is over. Man. I cannot believe it.
Yep.
A lot of the experts and the people that were making predictions, me included, picked the Golden State Warriors to win this game. And we were all wrong.
But yeah, I mean, the Kings had two big injuries. Obviously, Malik Monk and then Kevin Herter. So everybody thought the Warriors gonna win just because that. Nah, no one really came out to play, and they was guarding Steph crazy. The way they was guarding Steph was crazy.
Like the beam, ladies and gentlemen, the Sacramento Kings put the smackdown in this. They started this game with all the momentum, and it never, ever shifted. They kept their foot on the gas the entire time. But the Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green era might be over. It might be. Klay Thompson, free agent. They offered him some money earlier. He didn't like the dollar amount, and he just went into this winner-go-home scenario and shot a whopping 0 of 10.
0 of 10, 0 points. And Klay wants to. I'm assuming he wants a max contract. He's not getting that. I don't even think he's getting 20 mil per year. Do I think Klay Thompson's gonna be the Warriors next year? I'm not sure. I really don't know. It's 50-50.
0 of 10. It is insane. But before we talk about the terrible season that was this Golden State Warrior year, we have to give the credit, we have to give the love to the Sacramento Kings because they set the tempo, they set everything very early in this game. Keegan Murray said, hey, I'm going to guard Steph Curry in the first half at least, and then second half they switched it up and let Keon Ellis get some burn.
Keon Ellis played great. I'm not going to say I didn't know who Keon Ellis was, but I didn't know he was capable of playing like that. I'm going to be honest.
I'm going to guard Steph Curry. But I'm also going to hit 4 heavily contested three-point shots in the first quarter. And they were talking about on the broadcast like, man, anytime Keegan Murray's wide open, he's missing. But when you contest it, he's knocking it out. He had 8 threes in this one, 32 points, which is phenomenal.
I don't know who will win between Kings and Pelicans. I saw that Zion had a hamstring injury, which means there's a likely chance he misses the game Thursday. Or is it Friday? Actually, it's Friday, not Thursday. I'm tripping. But in that case, the Kings are probably going to win. I'm going to be honest.
The Golden State Warriors is always a team that is, they're notorious for losing the turnover battle. The entire time, all of their championship runs, they turn the ball over a lot. And that's part of having a free-flowing offense. It's part of having, or trying to make decisions 2 steps ahead. But in this one, it hurt them well more than it helped to have that free-flowing and this and that. They turned the ball over 16 times in this one. I promise you it felt like more than 16. In the fourth quarter, they had 5 possessions. 5 possessions. 3 of them ended in turnovers, and that was the moment I was like, it's over. I had already been feeling like it was over. I was really taking my notes and
Nah, at the end of the third quarter, it was over, bro. Like, the Warriors didn't feel like they were trying to win this game. They didn't feel like they were playing like it was a closeout game. So, I don't know, bro.
Like, okay.
Also, half their team is old. Like, you have Curry, Klay, Draymond, and Chris Paul as, like, I guess the 4 best players on your team. You could say Wiggins or Kuminga could be in there, but those 4 players are too old. Jonathan Kuminga is not experienced. He shot like 5 for 15, and Wiggins did what he did all season. He shot inefficiently, so they just lost.
How can we talk about how great the Kings were? Because I had already made my mind up that it was over. But in that fourth quarter, when they turned the ball over time and time again, there were multiple times in this game where they couldn't even get the ball in. What? This is a winner-go-home scenario with a championship-level rock. Wiggins, Draymond, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Kevin Looney, who hasn't played for a very long time, got
higher for half the cost of a
this one because they were going against the Kings, and he played Sabonis so very well.
He only played 9 minutes, bro.
Last year in the playoffs, this is a championship quality team. You trying to tell me, or championship DNA team, you trying to tell me can't get the ball in? Come on now. The real MVP, even though, again, Keegan Murray hit 32 points, leading all scorers, the real MVP for me was Keon Ellis. We talked about him in our pregame saying that, or our prediction video, saying that he was going to be super important. That the last time the Sacramento Kings and the Golden State Warriors played against each other in January, Keon Ellis wasn't a part of the rotation, and he was going to be tasked to guard.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you got Keon Ellis and Davion Mitchell. Both played very similar, in my opinion. I would say Keon Ellis has a higher potential on offense, but they both play very similar. They're both very small guards who play great defense, and it just happened to work against the Warriors.
Steph Curry. When in the second half, Mike Brown switched it up on him. You know, and they were playing chess, not checkers. Because you know that Steve Kerr was going to change something, right? And what he did is he changed his lineup going into the third quarter. And they went on a nice little run in that third that was like, okay, are they going to make something happen? But Mike Brown was like, I know they going to change something, so we going to change something too. So you might be prepared to play against Keegan Murray, Steph Curry, but now we're throwing Keon Ellis at you. And Keon was not afraid of the moment. This young sophomore year player, 3 for 4 from 3. And one of the things, if you remember, if you've watched the King Beaching podcast, I don't know if you really do, one of the things I was talking about with the Sacramento Kings, that if they did make the playoffs, the opposing teams are going to leave Keon Ellis open. Because even though he has been a knockdown shooter this year, about 40%, you have to pick your poison. That's just basketball. And having the young, inexperienced guy take the shots, you like that over letting Sabonis do the thing. You like that more than even Keegan Murray. You like that more than De'Aaron Fox.
No, I would 100% let Sabonis let Sabonis shoot. And the way De'Aaron Fox was shooting in that game, they could have easily lost. It was just the Warriors didn't feel like they was.
And in this one, Keon Ellis was all over the place. He ended with.
I also feel bad for the Warriors because obviously their assistant coach passed away earlier in the year. But, you know, it is what it is. They played through it, or they tried to. They still didn't make it.
With 15 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, 3 steals, 3 blocks, and a plus 27 on the night. Mike Brown said, this is a win-and-go-home scenario. I'm not thinking about really playing our bench. We're going to ride our starters, and we're going to let them win this game. And that's exactly what they did. Harrison Barnes took a late shot clock turnaround fade and mid-range jump, and it was cash. I was like,
no, that was crazy. I remember that shot. That was crazy.
You could do no wrong today. You could do no wrong. So like the beam, and they got one more to get in, and this against the Pelicans again. We don't know what's going on with Zion and his calf or whatever held him out for that last 2 minutes.
Hamstring.
But based on what we just saw here, anything is really possible. And I think that if they win that game, they'd be the first 10 seed to actually make it. So it's potentially interesting stuff.
The Kings weren't the 10 seed, buddy.
But the Warriors. The Warriors, man. The Warriors. Oh, one more thing I want to give credit to Mike Brown all over the place. You know how these videos go. They were completely okay. I'm talking about the Kings. Completely okay with playing 4-on-3 or 3-on-2. Kenny, what do you mean? What they were doing when Draymond Green or Wiggins set that high pick and roll for Steph Curry, something that killed them in Game 7. If you remember Game 7 of the playoffs last year when Steph Curry dropped his 50, this high pick and roll dominated the game. And what the Sacramento Kings decided in this one-game elimination, they were going to send 2 basically heads of screens and allow basically Steph Curry, this is just imagine, Steph Curry getting 2 defenders on the ball screen, the roller gets the ball, and you think about it, now it's a 4-on-3 scenario. Or in some cases, it's a 3-on-2 scenario. And this is where Draymond Green, LeBron James said this on Mind the Game, right? That's the name of their podcast with JJ. That Draymond Green's superpower is that when he's playing 4-on-3 and when he's playing 3-on-2. And in this one, there were not a lot of opportunities where they made the Sacramento Kings pay. It's just not. Whether it been because the talent on the court you just didn't trust to make the right decision, or sometimes it was Wiggins as the role man, and Wiggins' playmaking ability is 100 times worse than what Draymond Green can do. So Wiggins gets put in that scenario was for.
I guess I get what you're saying, but you explained it wrong.
He's what do I do? Bad shot attempt, turnover, and that's just good coaching. I think that's just really good coaching, and that's just people. Them playing players that maybe aren't built for that type of scenario. And you know what? Going into this, one of the reasons why a lot of people picked the Golden State Warriors is they had all the momentum, right? For the last month, the Golden State Warriors were looking pretty damn good. And for the last month, for the Sacramento Kings, you consider no Kevin Herter, you consider no Malik Monk. It felt like a no-brainer to a lot of people, and that's why we let it play in, because nothing is a no-brainer. Disappointing if you're a Warriors fan, I would say. To miss the playoffs completely when you have Steph Curry on your roster, it's unacceptable. When you have a top 10 guy, missing the playoffs is unacceptable. No matter the circumstances. Now, there are a lot of people.
I'm not gonna lie. Curry's ranking right now is low. He's low in the top 10 for sure. He might be like 9 or 10, honestly.
People that get blaming this, all right? Draymond Green got suspended in this season, right? Draymond Green is not suspended, and we know how good Draymond Green is on the court with Steph Curry. It's one of the best 2-man games of the last decade or so. He plays 2 more games other than his suspension. They might not be the 10th seed in the play-in. Hell, that game might have been in San Francisco, or that they might have hosted a play-in. But hell, they could have been a 6th seed. Who knows? There are a lot of different determinant factors to get to this point. Draymond's suspension has to be towards the top of the list. But the other thing, and this is something I've talked about a lot with the Golden State Warriors, especially since they had their title run in what was that 2022. It is so very hard to play the two timelines thing. It's so
Wait, say
very
again.
hard to play the two timelines thing. It's so
What are
very
you saying?
hard to play the two timeline thing. And listen, there are a lot of players on the younger players on the Golden State Warriors. Trace Jackson Davis only played 10 minutes in this one. It just wasn't a good matchup versus Sabonis. But Trace Jackson Davis is a diamond in the rough. He's the last pick of the draft a couple years or last year. Brandon Podziemski is going to be an all rookie player. Hell, Jonathan Kuminga is going to finish in the top 5 of most improved players. So like, they have good young talent. But what I will always say is when you have a top 10 player, specifically a top 10 player that has helped you win championship after championship after championship, you have to do everything to make your roster good enough to compete every single year. And keeping these younger guys instead of potentially selling some of them to get real talent that can help you right now is one of the reasons why we end up in the play-in and we lose. This is a lost Steph Curry year. And that sucks. I'm not going to act like Steph Curry was this supernova version of himself. Today he had 22 points and 6 turnovers. He had more turnovers than assists. He had 3 more turnovers than assists. That is unacceptable from an all-time great. But still, in the grand scheme of this entire season, or the last 2 years, I've been saying it. And they started to do it a little bit. And that was
I don't think it's the young player problem. The young players are great. The young players are probably better than their old players. Like Brandon Podziemski, for most of the season, since Chris Paul missed most of the season, he's been better than Chris Paul. Wiggins, trash. Jonathan Kuminga over Chris Paul. Over Wiggins. I mean, over Wiggins. Over Chris Paul too, but still. Trace Jackson Davis over Kevin Looney. That's the bro. Like, I don't understand what he's saying right now.
part of them trading Jordan Poole. Now, obviously, part of trading Jordan Poole is like, hell, him and Draymond Green's relationship is probably too far to be put together. And his contract was huge. And you go get Chris Paul, who was basically a non-factor in this one. He had one shot. I was like, oh, there's Chris Paul. But he was a non-factor in this one and for the majority of the season, if I'm being real with you. But hell, that trade doesn't look bad because the contract that is Jordan Poole, you're off that and you're going to be eventually off the Chris Paul contract. But you just want I just wanted them to maximize what they have in Steph Curry. Because you look at the other players in the association. I'm just so I don't forget anybody. Top NBA players right now. You know what I'm saying? Let's do some Googling on the fly. 10 players in basketball. Could you say the GM of that team or the person running the team is maximizing the idea of having a top 10 player? Nikola Jokic Company, they maximized all of that. They traded everything they could potentially get, and then they got the championship, and a lot of people would agree that they're probably the favorite to win the championship or to win the Western Conference again.
Alright, so basically he's trying to say the Warriors have not done that recently. But at the same time, the Warriors are in a bad situation because they literally won the championship 2 years ago. And last year they get eliminated in the first round. And this year they missed the playoffs. Actually, now I think about it, that's very similar to what the Lakers did. The one championship, lost to the Suns in the first round. Actually, no, they lost to the Lakers in the second round. My bad. But and then they missed the playoffs the year after that. But I don't know where Kenny's going with this. But I'm gonna go in to say my thoughts of where the Warriors should go this offseason. Because the Warriors are probably in the worst spot in the NBA. I'm gonna be honest. Because they have a decent amount of picks. They probably have like 3 or something like that. But their contracts are horrible. Obviously, they got the highest payroll in the NBA with Chris Paul, Steph, Wiggins, Klay, or Klay's off the books now, but Draymond, and I'm probably forgetting somebody. But I don't know what. There's nowhere to really go with that because can you really win a championship with Draymond as your second best player? It was different in 2022 when you have a different second best player almost every day. Like Jordan Poole can step up and drop 30. Klay was still pretty good. Wiggins was at his best. Actually, Wiggins was the second best player on that championship team. But now it's just different. All those players have fallen off a cliff. All the players you have now can't put up that same production, and I don't know where Steph is at. I don't know if Steph is literally just getting worse, or that since Steph is getting so much defensive attention that he can't get off as well. I don't know. But they definitely need to change something. They can't go another offseason without changing anything. Because if they do, they're literally just going to miss the playoffs again. unless they decide to actually trade. Obviously the most valuable asset is Wiggins. I would say definitely trade Wiggins for a player that can help. I'm gonna be honest. You might just have to take some pennies at this point. You might have to go for like a Zach LaVine, even though he doesn't fit the Warriors system. Y'all need something. Y'all need talent. I don't think Steph is at the point of his career where y'all can just get a player that fits with the Warriors, and then that will fix everything. I think you need talent in this situation. And then Chris Paul, again, trade him for pennies. Um, if you trade Chris Paul for a decent role player, that'd be fine. Because Chris Paul probably has the worst trade value in the NBA. Because not only I think he's turning like 38, 39 next year. But Chris Paul doesn't really do that much on the court anymore. So you gotta trade Chris Paul for pennies as well. You might want to let Klay walk depending on how much he wants. And keep Draymond. I'm gonna be honest. But even then, I don't see, unless unless Jonathan Kuminga is like a 20-point scorer next year, I don't see the Warriors doing anything. But that's just my thoughts. Leave y'all thoughts down in the comments.